To give everyone a bit of background, what is an SPE? An SPE is a special purpose entity. It could be an individual person, it could be a group of people, it could be a company, it could be a DAO. It's just a thing that has a mission. And the sort of social process around the Delta Treasury is that these entities are what applies to the Treasury for funding because they sort of have expertise or commitment to fulfilling that mission. And then, they use the funding they receive to actually allocate the funding out to programs or end recipients or individuals to try and accomplish that mission. So, if for example, an app builder wants some funding to work on a specific app idea, they probably don't apply directly to the Livepeer Delta Treasury and make the whole network evaluate whether whether that app is worthy of funding or not. Instead, they would probably apply to an SPE like the Grants program or the Livepeer Innovators DAO for funding, because those programs those SPEs are set up specifically to evaluate each individual application and understand its requirements and judge its amount of funding or contribution to sort of ration out LPT towards them effectively. So that's sort of the concept behind what SPEs are and how they would be the ones applying to the Delta Treasury. And so now that this Treasury is live and it's beginning to populate with LPT, I think it's actually didn't check today, but I'm guessing it has nearly 30,000 LPT worth in the Treasury. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. It's worth asking the question, well, what SPEs does Livepeer need, and how should they think about forming in order to apply to the Treasury? And this post, I can share it in the chat. I got kicked over to mobile because my desktop audio wasn't coming through. Let me see if there's a way to hop in the chat on desktop to share this quickly. Maybe someone else could share the link in the chat. Anyway, this post outlines a couple ideas for SPEs. Yep. And so, the two that sort of already exist or that are in the process of being formed, one is the Livepeer Innovators DAO, or LID, which has a mission of providing retroactive funding to video builders who are doing things that help generate demand for the Livepeer network. And a bunch of you are in the LID group. It meets bi-weekly. There's a channel in Discord. There's a website. And so everyone's welcome to learn about that. And we look forward to them applying for the first sort of round of funding from the Treasury in order to route retroactive funding to video builders who have already made helpful contributions to Livepeer. The second one that exists is the Livepeer Community Grants Program. This existed prior to the Livepeer Treasury. It's been a long-running, many-year program run by a bunch of team members and community members, team members of Livepeer Inc. and community members who do proactive public goods funding for many needs on the Livepeer network, not just app builders and demand generating things, but also supply side contributions, core software contributions, marketing and events, security, and whatnot. So it's been a really important sort of SPE, and it generates LPT from the node that it's run, so it doesn't need to be applying to the Delta Treasury anytime soon. But certainly, it has the ability to make proposals to the Delta Treasury in the future if there's some specific, need of expanding the program or accessing more token, and the community judges that it's doing a good job and deserves funding from the Treasury. Cool. So those are two that exist. The post goes on to describe two that I think we could all use, and then also opens up to other ideas for other SPs that could exist. So I'll try and do this quickly. One that it suggests is a liquidity management SPE. I would say that right now everyone recognizes there's not great liquidity for Livepeer token when it comes to bridging between L1 and L2, moving Livepeer tokens off of Arbitrum onto mainnet, where you might need to be in order to integrate with exchanges or DeFi ecosystems. And the reason is because there's just not a great incentive for anyone to unstake their tokens and deposit them in these liquidity pools to create easy bridging. And this seems like the perfect use of public goods pool of tokens that no one owns and no one's missing out on an opportunity cost of staking. And so it's interesting to think about an SPE that could serve that mission, as well as maybe adding liquidity to, decentralized exchanges or liquid staking protocols or other sort of DeFi integrations for Livepeer that helps the ecosystem and helps users onboard and offboard. So yeah, maybe we'll discuss that a little bit, but that's a high level overview. The second one that I propose is a smart contract security group. This is one that I'm interested in myself, which is noting that the Livepeer needs a lot of public goods funding already for smart contract security. This includes running audits on protocol upgrades. It includes running bug bounty programs, which are highly effective at identifying critical protocol bugs that could, steal user funds essentially before they get exploited, and encouraging reporters to find and report them rather than exploit them. And the grants program has been funding some of that. Livepeer Inc.'s been funding that, but the incentives are always a little misaligned. Using tokens for that spur of the moment means that you can't allocate them to demand generating efforts or other forms of public goods. And so it's actually interesting to have a dedicated SPE to run those programs that have community approved tokens to use for them, and to focus on additional security mechanisms like onboarding sort of retained first responders who are familiar with the program, the protocol, and can do bug fixes on the fly, because that's actually a challenge, sort of the thinness of the existing team that's able to respond to those things, and additional funding would help there. So that's sort of the second one that's proposed. I think there's opportunities for others like SPs that focus on community growth or testing and QA or R&D and innovation, or funding broader video ecosystem open source software. Hunter suggested a venture fund to invest in companies that are building on Livepeer. I think that's interesting. So that's sort of an overview. I'll pause there, open it up for discussion, and I know it's related to Titan Notes topic around the security committee SPE as well.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like I said, I come around to my topic, like around the smart contract security group. Like, how do you think that would? Who would initiate this kind of SPE? Like, and what are the expectations around like further decentralizing the key management of who holds the keys to the Livepeer contracts?
Yeah, really, really good question. So I think it's likely that members of the existing security committee would be well suited to initiate and lead this SPE, since they're the ones that are running the audits, the bug bounty programs, and responding to critical issues. So while I think that it's likely they would run this, I do think that's a really good question, whether like this SPE should take the leadership on the initiatives of decentralizing the security committee itself, which is, putting it in community control over what key holders are on that committee, not on that committee, how people get added and removed, are there elections, is the security committee removed altogether? These are questions that we definitely want to like urgently address in the protocol itself. What do you think? Do you think that SPE should take the lead on that initiative as well? It seems reasonable.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, the only reason not to would be if like, I don't know, if those are more like governance questions and sort of like community decision points. I don't know if a bunch of like auditors who care about like fixing bugs and understanding the accounting and the protocol really well are also thinking about like the governance questions of running elections for who's on and off a committee and those sorts of things. It's a little bit of a different scope, but then again, I might be mincing hairs a little bit. I think it's certainly reasonable that those in this group would certainly have opinions and could take some leadership on that. It's one thing that's worth highlighting on that is it's actually a pretty significant amount of funds, right? Like the audit prize pool for Delta was over $50,000 worth of LPT. The bounties through the Immunify Bug Bounty Program typically are a couple $1,000s for medium or low severity bugs, which are found, maybe once every couple of months. But the critical ones are very high. Like we actually just paid out a critical bounty of $40,000, the highest we've ever paid. And it was well worth it because it, secured far more greater value than that of LPT in the ecosystem. But, this would be running this program for 6 months out of the Delta Treasury would, take a few weeks worth of LPT accrual into the Treasury in order to fund it. I certainly feel it's definitely a public good and it's definitely important, but I don't know if anyone has a strong reaction or pushback to sort of that amount of value being used from the Treasury.
I definitely don't have any pushback at all. I think security is extremely important, and if that can be funded with funds from the Treasury, I think it's a great idea personally.
Great, thanks, Ben. Anyone else?
Security is the never-ending race, right? You're never secure. You're always fighting against that battle. So being proactive and preventative is probably far better than having to recover from an issue. And I think, just having exploit could be very bad for the protocol.
Agreed. Great. Well, yeah, anyone can feel free to chime in on the forum post or share additional ideas there.
Do you guys also do any like educational auditing around your smart contracts?
What do you mean by educational?
So my good friend Patrick Collins, he does a lot of educational tutorials and such, and he recently launched a new smart contract auditing company called Cyphren.io. I dropped the link in the chat. But he does YouTube tutorials and things around, utilizing, teaching people basically to become auditors.
Cool. I certainly think the Livepeer protocol would be a very well suited for education on auditing protocols because it's one of the biggest protocols. It's really complex, but it's interesting. Auditors give great feedback on the time that they have diving into it and understanding it because of all the inflationary mechanisms and reward mechanisms and the fee shares and accounting for thousands of delegators. So yeah, interesting idea. And yeah, if you can run an educational program, you might be able to get a lot of eyes on it and find a lot of bugs for like lower bounty amounts than the the more professional programs, which you also need in certain cases. So good suggestion. I'll look at that link as well. Cool. Anyone want to chime in at all on the liquidity DAO concept? I think Nico from Tender Eyes had shared a post in the forum saying they'd be interested in being involved. I do think one of the biggest challenges with that one is, yes, everyone wants this liquidity. It benefits everyone, but how do you trust an SPE to just be issued like a lot of LPT and for them to trust that they're applying it correctly for these liquidity purposes and not just running away with it essentially. And, not unsolvable. It could be reputational, it could be contractual, it could be smart contract based. You don't have to trust them because the LPT is being released directly into these pools. But I think that's an interesting thing for people to consider before they just, release a lot of LPT into a single proposer's proposal.
A somewhat different approach. I heard of a project called Connects Network that allows for like cross chain
Are you interested in,
interoperability. I think that can help alleviate liquidity concerns, but I know that's a sort of a different approach to this than what you were talking about. But just wanted to throw that concept out there.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't caught up on Connext in a while. I don't know if it's similar to like Hop Protocol, which is this like cross-chain bridging solution where you sort of deposit liquidity on both sides, both chains you're connecting to. But if it's similar, we should definitely, take a look at that.
Yeah, perhaps it does require those liquidity pools as well. I haven't looked that much into it.
Cool. Okay. We can keep moving. So I think next topic I've noted down here is authority asked, can ideas be funded? Absolutely. Though I think this sort of SPE versus end recipient distinction is interesting there. So if there's an idea for an SPE, like let's say the idea is to form a venture fund that invests, money, follow-on funding in apps in the ecosystem that maybe received a grant or innovators DAO funding or something. Like it's reasonable to make a proposal for that SPE, even if it's in the idea stage. But I would think that the amount you'd be asking for initially, the milestones you'd be communicating you're going to hit, et cetera, would be important, and you'd probably be asking for less funding initially prior to your thing being set up and maybe even a little more proven or established. One other idea on this front is I know the grants committee was talking about giving proactive grants to like microgrants to people or teams that were looking to form SPEs in order to like fund the pre-work or like the research and proposal phase to like getting to their proposal. And I think the microgrants limit is a couple $1,000s, but hopefully that's like enough to justify like a couple weeks of work in the build up to a credible proposal. Whereas, if otherwise there's just a lot of uncertainty, like, oh, I'm going to put all this work into a proposal, it might fail. That was a waste of time. This would sort of like ease that uncertainty a little bit. So that's another idea there.
Awesome. Yeah, that definitely answers my question. I appreciate it, man.
Cool. You have any ideas you're looking to bring to the floor?
Not currently, but my mind's spinning. I'm thinking.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Next topic. Chase Media asked, when will the Treasury be open to the first applicants? I hit on this before. The Treasury is open. It's populating. Anyone can apply.
Right, yeah, thanks. I understand that. It was more the timing of the DAO, and if there's a particular time we're going to wait for the amount of LPs need to gather in the Treasury before we do a round, or whether it's based on the applications.
Get the community, incorporate it, but yeah, the on-chain mechanisms are there. Maybe one of the appropriate follow-up question is for the innovators DAO, do you all have a timeline of when you think you'll be making a first proposal or running, the first sort of retroactive funding round?
Yeah, I made a post outlining kind of like what a timeline would be for a round, and I think it was something like 7 months from now would be kind of the beginning of the first round. So the idea is to have the Treasury, fill up to an amount that was worth doing a round, and then it would take 6 months for us just to even organize, applicants and voting and things like that. So there is a timeline for a round that I made a blog post about. It's not set in stone. It's just just a guideline, and also the process of how the Innovators DAO handles and distributes funds.
Cool. Okay. 7 months in some ways feels, short, because I know all the work it is to run a huge program and recruit an applicant pool and educate everyone and make decisions and all that. And in other ways, it feels far away. Like that's like an infinite amount of time in blockchain land. Has there been any discussion around, alternatives like running a mini round or routing some funding to an initial set of applicants or anything that would occur faster? Or you think everyone's operating on this, pretty committed 7-month timeline?
Like I said, it's not a committed 7-month timeline, but there's really been no discussion around doing anything smaller. Just getting the word out that we're doing a round is going to be a huge task. So I'm not certain. I mean, yeah, we could do like a mini round of like known applicants where we don't maybe need to do as much voting or advertising or anything like that. But at this rate, I think we're just gonna sit on the train that I placed out and settle in our roles. Our roles are being developed, so I'm not certain we could organize a mini round with any luck more than just doing the first round in general. So no,
Got it.
I'm optimistic around just the first round and that going forward.
Great. Okay. Sounds good. So I think we hit on all of the topics that people suggested. If anyone else has anything they want to discuss, any questions, now's a good time. And also, this was the first Treasury chat. Want to keep them quick and brief and do it once every 2 weeks. Does anyone have any immediate feedback or reactions on, how this went and if it's useful and if the format should be updated for next time?
I think it's fine. I probably have more questions as we lead up to it. I really just wanted to see what it was like today and how it would go. So I don't have a problem with the format. Seems pretty good. But pairing it together with blog posts and discussions in Discord always helps to keep people up to date before the upcoming meeting, because I might have questions if I can stew on them in a few days in advance.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, I'll try and share like a brief summary of notes from the call as well for everyone who couldn't make it.
Cool.
Awesome. I do see Nico just joined, and yeah, Nico, we were sort of at the end of the topic list, but if you wanted to chime in at all on, we were talking about potential SPEs. We saw your post about the liquidity SPE. If you want to jump in, now's the time, but no problem if not.
Oh yeah, no, sorry for being late. I just couldn't make the call earlier. So yeah, if there could be some notes on the last call ahead of next call, that would be great, or the recording even. Other than that, yeah, I fully support this proposal and like the initial SPE. So yeah, let's go.
Awesome. Do you think Tenderize is interested in playing an active role in the liquidity SPE?
Yeah, definitely. I've already had some conversations about it with Sarah, but we can definitely have those in the open in the future. And I think we can definitely play a role there. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Anything else that anyone wants to bring up?
I just want to add, I like the idea of the venture capital funding SPE. It sounds a lot like our current community grants that are around, like building video applications, or even Livepeer Innovators DAO. But I think anything around that demand generation is really great. There's a lot of different areas in the ecosystem we could drive development towards.
Cool. Yeah, actually, I see them all serving a different role, like as projects move down the funnel, right? Like projects are early on, they have an idea, a grant can help them get it started. Then they've shown their contribution and they're established. Like the retroactive funding through the Innovators DAO can help them become a bigger owner in this network and acquire kind of a bigger chunk of capital to continue to invest. And then like as they're serious and they're committed and there's growth and they want to really grow that demand generating application, that's when like venture capital can be a there's pluses and there's minuses, but it can be real rocket fuel to help them with that growth if they have something that's working. And so they're like different programs for different phases in the life cycle for a video builder.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Great. Well, yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I think it was a great first Treasury chat. And we'll do the next one in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Doug.
Awesome.
Look forward to it. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Bye.
are you cool if I post this recording?
Oh yeah, go ahead. I didn't know we had a recording. Thank you, Titan.
Awesome. Cheers.
Where will you post it, Titan?
Same places, YouTube and tape.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks. Awesome. See you guys.
Yeah.